Welcome back to Gospel First, and today we're finishing up with Matthew chapter 21 to 23, Mark 11, Luke 19 to 20, and John 12. Now, have you ever questioned authority? Who has it and why it matters? That question is exactly what the religious leaders asked Jesus. But what they didn't realize was that standing in front of them was the one who had all the authority, and yet he came not to dominate, but to invite. The leaders asked in chapter 21 to 23 of Matthew, "By what authority are you doing these things?" And Jesus answers with a story. So let's find out what the story is. Let's begin. So in Matthew chapter 21 to 23, we begin with Jesus answering the question with a story. It's about the parable of the two sons. One son says no, but later obeys. And then the other says yes, but does not follow through. And that's verses 28 to 31. Now, obedience is not about words, it's about action. Even delayed obedience is still obedience. Now, there's a deeper connection here. This reflects Jesus in Gethsemane. He says, "I don't want this cup, but then not my will, but yours be done." That is true submission. Jesus tells another story. It's about the parable of the vineyard. Now their servants are sent. They are rejected, beaten, killed. Finally, the son is sent, and he is killed too. Now this is a direct prophecy. God sent prophets. They were rejected. Then he sent his son, and he would be rejected as well. So the question is not, did they reject him? The question is, do we? Now, he tells the parable of the wedding banquet in Matthew chapter 22, verses 10. The wedding hall was filled with guests. Everyone is invited, the good and bad, but one enters without proper clothing. Now, the garment represents Christ. You cannot enter the kingdom on your own merit. You must be covered by him. So notice the step-by-step reasoning. Invitation is given to all. Acceptance requires response. Transformation requires surrender. Covering comes from Christ alone. So imagine being invited to the most important event of your life. Everything is prepared for you. A place, a seat, a garment. But you say, "I'll come, but on my terms." This is the danger. Not rejection, but partial acceptance. Now, there's a quiet truth in all of this. The people who shouted Hosanna on Sunday would be silent by Friday. And yet, Jesus still went to the cross, not because they understood, but because he loved them. So here's my invitation for you for this week. Christ does not wait for perfect understanding. He invites willing hearts. So today, ask yourself, am I just saying yes or truly following him? Have I let him cleanse my life? Am I wearing his grace or relying on myself? Because in the end, this week in Jerusalem was never about a crown, it was about a cross. And that cross was for you. That's it for another week. Thank you for staying faithful to the journey. May the Spirit continue to fill your heart and draw you closer to Jesus Christ. If your heart feels even a gentle nudge, I invite you to subscribe and share so that we can spread the gospel of Jesus Christ together. And I'll see you next time as we continue our studies in the book of Matthew, chapter 24-25, Mark 12 to 13, and Luke 21. So until then, God bless.